Attitude depends on you, not on circumstances. Look, I always say that life is wonderful, and it is. It's a gift. But of course, it also has its downsides, its bad days, its moments of drama, and it feels like you're in a bad soap opera, right? It happens to all of us. Everyone. No one is spared. Now, the difference between people isn't what happens to them, but how they decide to live what happens to them. That's attitude. And that, my friend, is what makes the difference between having a life worth living or wandering around like a lost soul. And be careful, this is about wearing a toothpaste ad smile all day long. No, you don't have to act like, I'm happy all the time, life is beautiful, problems are gifts. No, it's not about denying reality. Life sometimes stings, it hurts, and it's okay to cry, to complain a little, but you can't stay there. You can't live bitter about what you can't control. Because if you settle into complaining, if everything bothers you, if you see everything as bleak, you end up being a professional bore. And neither you nor those around you can handle that. I always say that attitude doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on you. It's a choice. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's not genetic. In other words, you're in charge. Can everything go wrong for you and still have a good attitude? Of course it can. And conversely, there are people who have everything and are bitter, sad, as if the world owes them something. It's not right. It's not right to go through life like that, spreading bad moods. You see it coming and you already think, oh my God, here comes an emotional vampire. He sucks your energy, steals it, and then you just stand there feeling so calm. I tell you this with all my love. If you choose to have a good attitude, even when things go wrong, life changes. Everything changes. Not the problems, but the way you live them. And when you live things with strength, with courage, with energy, the problems weigh less. Attitude doesn't make the problems disappear. It's that you face them with a different face, with a different disposition, and that allows you to move forward without sinking. And look, I'll tell you clearly, people who go through life with good attitude aren't stupid. It's not that they don't see the problems. It's that they've decided not to get dragged down by the negative, not to live bitterly. Those people you see and say, wow, he's so nice to be with, are people who have worked on their attitude. They get up in the morning and say, today I'm going to give my best. They don't wait for good things to happen. They make them happen. I always say, attitude isn't waiting, it's acting. If you have a problem, do something. And if you can't do anything, accept it gracefully. Because complaining all day long doesn't solve anything. I mean, if complaining a lot would make your problems disappear, I'd say, complain until you lose your voice. But no, all you achieve is putting yourself in a bad mood and upsetting the person next to you. Look, life is too short to live it grudgingly. It's a gift, and you decide whether you live it with gusto or simply survive it. You decide whether you go through life like a light bulb that illuminates, that gives energy, that spreads joy, or like a burnout light bulb that's useless, that shuts down others. So, please take care of your attitude like the greatest treasure you have, because it is. You can have degrees, money, skills, whatever you want, but if you have a bad attitude, all of that is worthless. On the other hand, if you have a good attitude, you multiply your value as a person. And most importantly, you make life worth living. Let's get down to business. This is a lot. Let's see. People always ask me, Victor, how do you manage to have that positive attitude all the time? And I answer, it's not magic, my friend, it's training. Because attitude isn't something you're born with. Attitude isn't genetic. It's not something that comes with your birth date. No. Attitude is something you train every day. And the thing is, many people don't realize this and go through life as if it were something you won in the lottery. But listen to me carefully, and I want this to be crystal clear. Attitude is like a muscle. What would you do if you want to be strong? Obviously, train. You go to the gym, lift weights, run, do sit-ups, push yourself a little, but little by little, right? You notice how your muscles start getting firmer. Well, the same thing happens with attitude. If you don't train it, you'll end up feeling like a slacker, like those who go through life saying, I'm just naturally negative. Lie. You're not. What happens is that you don't train your attitude. And mind you, we're not talking about training for a week and that's it. Training your attitude is like training for the long term. And as I always tell you, attitude training is done with small gestures. You don't have to suddenly become a motivational machine, but you can improve little by little, like everything in life. If you work at it every day, you'll eventually start to see results. And how do we train our attitude? Easy. First, be careful what you let into your head. Because if you spend 24-hour newscasts full of tragedies, crises, and catastrophes, what will happen? You'll fill yourself with fears, worries, and worst of all, you'll start to believe the world is bad. You absorb what you see. And if what you see is pure negativity, you'll become a suitcase of bad vibes. But if you decide to feed yourself with things that uplift you, with books that inspire you, with people who contribute to you, what happens? That negative attitude will begin to diminish, and a positive attitude will begin to flourish. I'll explain it with an example I always tell. Imagine you're watching television, and they put on a sad movie. You watch it, right? And at first you're calm, but as the movie progresses, you start to feel sad. What happens is that if you let yourself get carried away, that sadness contaminates you. Life is the same. If everything you see, hear, or consume is full of negativity, how are you going to have a good attitude? It's as if you were going to run a marathon with weights tied to your ankles, right? Impossible. Now, if you start surrounding yourself with things that help you see life differently, a positive attitude starts to arrive. Now, what else? Well, in addition to taking care of what enters your mind, you have to start taking action. Yes, concrete actions. Because attitude doesn't just stay in your head. It has to be demonstrated with actions. It's like going to a mental gym. Imagine you're lifting weights, one after the other. Each repetition is a positive action, a kind gesture, a smile, saying thank you for something small, thinking about the good things you have. Every small action you take is like a repetition at the gym. At first, it's hard. It's normal. Of course it's hard. It's like going to train after months of not doing so. It's hard, it hurts a little, but over time you get stronger, and those small actions add up and transform you. But of course, here comes the tricky part. Everyone gets excited at first, right? You start with a lot of enthusiasm. Everything is new and exciting, but the challenge is maintaining it. The key to training your attitude is consistency. It's not enough to just train one day and that's it. You have to be training every day, even if there are bad days, because not everything is going to be perfect. There are going to be difficult times when you feel tired and say, why keep training your attitude if everything is going wrong? That's precisely when you need to train your attitude the most. It's easy to have a good attitude when everything is going well, but true attitude is revealed when everything is going wrong. This is where people give up. They think, I just can't do it anymore. I don't feel like being positive. I don't feel like doing anything. And that's where you have to tell yourself, come on, I'm stronger than this. And you start again with a kind gesture, with a positive thought, with a smile, with an action that motivates you. It's a muscle, man, and muscles don't grow without effort. Do you know what happens when you constantly train your attitude? You begin to become a person who, without knowing it, inspires others. Because your attitude not only helps you, it also lifts others up. People want to be around you. They want someone who lifts them up, not someone who sinks them into negativity. Your attitude becomes a beacon that illuminates others. And believe me, there is nothing more powerful than a person with a good attitude. It's contagious. It's transformative. That's why I tell you, get into the attitude gym. Because in the end, if you keep training and are consistent, your life will change and you won't even realize it. You'll be much stronger, much more positive, much more capable of facing anything that comes your way. Here's something I want to make crystal clear, because many people don't realize how important attitude is for their personal lives, but also for their professional lives. And I say this with great affection, because we often obsess over learning new skills, studying, training, and of course, all of that is very good. Knowledge, it's power. But what really makes a difference is how you behave, how you live life, and especially how you handle the things that happen to you. Let's see, imagine, you wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, ugh, how lazy. Today is definitely going to be a bad day. You say it with such conviction that you've already created a drama in your head. You've already visualized your day with a bad face. You've already decided that everything is going to go wrong. And what happens? What you expect, you attract. Your attitude is noticeable. You feel it, and others perceive it. If you go through life with a bad attitude, people notice, and your projects won't turn out well because unintentionally you project insecurity, negativity, and a lack of confidence that holds you back. But what if, on the contrary, you wake up with a positive attitude? What happens? Well, everything starts to change, not because the circumstances are magically different, but because you experience them differently. You'll see more opportunities, you'll make better decisions, and most importantly, you'll inspire others. People want to be around someone with energy, a positive attitude, eager to take on the world, and not someone who's like a burned-out light bulb. And you know what? This attitude shows in everything you do. Think for a moment about your job. If you come to work with enthusiasm, with an open mind, with an attitude of solving problems instead of getting stuck in complaints, everything changes. Because when your attitude is positive, doors open. And I'm not just talking about professional doors. I'm talking about doors that open to new relationships, new projects, new opportunities. Good vibes are contagious. The funny thing is that when you arrive with a positive attitude, things start to flow. People want to work with you. They seek you out to collaborate. They propose projects. Because in the end, your attitude is not only a reflection of what's in your head, but also what you project to others. It's like a kind of magnet, and you attract what you are. Now, imagine the opposite. You arrive somewhere with a sour face, with an attitude of, this is going to go wrong. I don't know if I can do this. This isn't going to work. Do you know what happens? The atmosphere becomes tense. People perceive you as a threat, as someone lacking confidence. And of course, opportunities move away from you. No one wants to be around someone who doesn't believe in themselves or in others. And how does this impact your personal well-being? Well, imagine how you feel when you're surrounded by positive, energetic people. You feel vibrant, you feel alive, you feel motivated. And yet, if you're surrounded by negativity, you end up feeling more tired, discouraged, and unmotivated. Your attitude directly affects you. If you wake up every day eager to give your best, it will be much easier for you to maintain a positive mood, not only in your professional life, but also in your personal life. I imagine you're facing a difficult situation, a complicated meeting, or a major professional challenge. If you have the right attitude, if you approach it with a mindset of, I'm going to give my all, no matter what happens, I'm going to learn something from this experience, everything changes. Even if things don't go as you expected, your attitude helps you move forward and look for solutions. But if, on the other hand, you have a negative attitude, what happens? You get stuck, frustrated, and withdrawn, and that prevents you from finding new ways forward. Attitude also has to do with how you manage your emotions. When you have a good attitude, you don't get caught up in negative emotions. If something goes wrong, you don't spend the whole week complaining, but rather you learn, adapt, and move forward. Emotions don't control you. You control your emotions. That's what a person with a positive attitude does. They are in control. They have the ability to manage what happens to them and find a way forward. And best of all, your well-being improves. Not only because things go better, but because when you change your attitude, your emotions change, and that changes your mental and physical health. People with a positive attitude tend to be healthier, happier, and, in many cases, more successful. Because a positive attitude not only opens doors, but also gives you the energy to pursue your goals with determination. Therefore, it's essential that you become aware of how you approach each day. If you do so with a positive attitude, you'll see everything differently, you'll feel different, and your life will change. Pay attention. We have something very important here. Your attitude toward failure is everything. If you think failure is the end, that when you fail you hit rock bottom, well, my friend, you're very wrong. Failure is not the end. It's just one more step. It's an obligatory stop on the path to success. I'll start by saying something very clearly. We all fail. And when I say everyone, I mean it. Everyone, from the most successful to the one just starting out. Failure is part of the process. It's a tool that will help you improve, learn, and, above all, grow. The thing is, many people are afraid of failure, and fear is what really holds us back. People who are afraid of failure just stop, freeze, and don't take risks. But you know what? If you don't take risks, if you don't try new things, you'll never know what you're capable of. Let's look at a clear example. Imagine you're learning to ride a bike. At first, you fail. In fact, you fall a lot, right? It's part of the process. If you don't fall, you're not doing anything new, because falling means you're really trying. What people with positive attitude toward failure do is pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and say, okay, I know this isn't the way to go, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm closer to getting it right. And that's what sets you apart. You don't get discouraged. You get up, learn from what you did wrong, adjust your course, and keep moving forward. This is what people with a strong mindset do. They don't give up at the first stumble. And mind you, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying failure is easy or that it doesn't hurt. Of course it hurts. But the key is how you manage that pain. Do you stay with the pain and give up? Or do you use it to improve and move forward? If you view failure as a learning opportunity, that failure is no longer an obstacle. It's another step toward your success. And failure is relative. I'm not talking about failing miserably and staying there, sunk, with no desire to get up. True failure is what happens when you stop trying. Because if you keep fighting, every fall will teach you something. Did you know that some of the most successful people in the world have failed more times than you? And I can count. And the most impressive thing is that when they failed, they didn't think, this isn't for me, I'm quitting. No, they thought, okay, this is teaching me something. I'll do better next time. And guess what? Next time they did better. So failure isn't the end. Failure is a stage of the process. It's like when a child learns to talk. They don't wake up one day and say, I can talk perfectly now. No. First they babble, then they say incomplete words, then incorrect sentences, and they fall down several times. But if they keep at it, they'll learn to talk. If they didn't fail, they wouldn't learn. Now, how can you use failure to your advantage? Change the way you see it. Stop seeing it as an enemy. Failure isn't a bad thing. It's information. It's telling you, hey, this strategy isn't working, try another way. And you know what happens? People with a good attitude don't see failure as a disaster. They see it as an adjustment, as something that allows you to correct your path and improve. The key is not to get stuck in the negative, but to find the lesson behind every stumble. Look, I'll put it bluntly. If you're not willing to fail, then you're not willing to grow. There's no way to improve without putting something at stake. There's no way to become stronger without trying something new, without stepping outside your comfort zone. And if you don't step outside your comfort zone, you'll remain stagnant. And stagnation is one of the worst enemies of success. The comfort zone is a very comfortable place, but it's where dreams go to die. The good thing about failure is that it makes you learn. It makes you wiser. Every mistake, every fall, gives you a new tool. It's direct training in life. And the best part is, the more you fail, the faster you learn, because you already know what doesn't work. And when you're clear about what doesn't work, it's much easier to find what does. In the end, I want you to come away with one clear idea. Failure is just one more step toward success. Don't stop when something doesn't go well. Don't give up. Learn from it, adjust, and keep going. Every failure brings you closer to success. If you don't fail, it's because you're not trying hard enough. So keep going, get up, and do better. The next attempt will be the one that takes you closer to your dreams. Pay attention. If there's one thing that radically changes the course of your life, it's how you relate to others. And I want to be clear about this. We're not just talking about being polite or saying thank you once in a while. No. I'm talking about the attitude you bring to every interaction, every conversation, every relationship. That's the key. Think for a moment about the people you surround yourself with. Do they uplift you? Do they give you energy? Do they motivate you to keep going? Or, on the contrary, are they the kind of people who are always complaining, spreading bad vibes, and making you feel like nothing can be solved? The people you surround yourself with play a fundamental role in your life. But it doesn't stop there. It's not just others who influence you. You influence them too. And the most impressive thing of all is that, without knowing it, your attitude can be the one that changes the course of someone else's life. Throughout our lives, we have many interactions with coworkers, friends, family, and strangers. Each of these interactions is an opportunity to convey something. Are you going to transmit positive energy, inspire others, or get caught up in your personal problems and spread negativity? Every time you meet someone, you're leaving a mark, and that mark can be positive or negative. The attitude you bring to your interactions says much more than you might imagine. Imagine you bump into someone at work who's going through a difficult time. If you arrive with an open, empathetic, and helpful attitude, you can change that person's day. A kind word, a genuine smile, a gesture of support, those little things can make a difference. But if you arrive with a closed, indifferent, or even aggressive attitude, then you can unwittingly drag that person down further. And this happens more than we think. Every day, you have the opportunity to be a source of positive energy. And this doesn't mean being a happy person all the time or ignoring your problems. It means that you have control over how you manage your energy and how you project it toward others. If you're someone who constantly focuses on a negative, who complains all the time, who gets angry quickly, what you're going to create around you are toxic relationships. And you know what? Toxic relationships suck you up. They drain you. They drain your energy. These people distance you from your goals and make your life more difficult. Now, if you decide to have a proactive, generous, open, and empathetic attitude in your relationships, what you're going to do is create a positive environment. People are going to want to be around you. They're going to see you as a leader, as someone who inspires trust. People are attracted to those who have the ability to see the best in others, who have emotional intelligence to connect on a deeper level, who make others feel good. Now, what happens sometimes is that we think we need to change others or that we must always be right in arguments. But the reality is, it's not about that. It's about how you react to others. Are you going to let anger get the better of you or choose calm? Are you going to react negatively or try to see the best in the situation? People pay close attention to how you behave, how you react to adversity, and that determines much of how your relationships develop. What's more, when you have a positive attitude toward others, you're not only improving your life, but you're also contributing something valuable to the world. People will remember you, not only for what you did, but for how you made them feel. And at work, in business, or in any other area of life, relationships are what truly make the difference. Opportunities arise from authentic, healthy relationships, and those opportunities are what will open doors to success. Therefore, don't underestimate the power of a positive attitude in your relationships. If you're someone who's willing to listen, to help, to bring positive energy into every interaction, what you'll get back is much more than you could ever imagine. Good relationships are built day after day, with small gestures and the right attitude. Sounds good, right? What I want you to understand is that if you can change your attitude, you can change the impact you have on the world. If you decide to be kinder, more generous, more understanding, you will see how your relationships transform. You will see how people respond to you differently. And most importantly, you will create a circle of support that will help you grow personally and professionally. Let me make something clear from the start. Everything that happens in your life is related to what you decide to do with what happens to you. And that is what is called personal responsibility. I'm not talking about blaming others or waiting for circumstances to change on their own. I'm talking about accepting that you are responsible for your life. Personal responsibility doesn't mean shouldering all the blame or thinking that everything that happens to you is a reflection of your decisions. No. What it means is that you have control over how you react to any situation. It is the power to choose what attitude to have when faced with challenges, problems, and circumstances you cannot control. When you embrace personal responsibility, you stop blaming others, circumstances, or external factors. You stop being a victim of what happens around you. If your life isn't where you'd like it to be, why are you waiting for someone else to fix it? You're the one who has to make the change. You're the one who has to take charge. Personal responsibility means stopping being a spectator and starting to be the protagonist of your own story. Imagine you have a dream, a goal in mind. If you're not where you want to be, Who's responsible for it? The government? Your boss? Your family? No. The answer, even if it hurts a little, is you. And I'm not saying this from a negative place. On the contrary, I say it because it gives you the power to change your situation. When you assume responsibility, you take control. If you don't like what's happening, you have the power to make decisions that change the course. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're working on a project that's not going well, where things aren't turning out the way you expected. The blame can lie in 1,000 factors. The client didn't understand your proposal. Resources are limited. The team isn't committed. But if you adopt a mindset of personal responsibility, you don't just dwell on complaints. Instead of complaining about what isn't working, you ask yourself what you can do to improve the situation. Can I be clearer about my proposal? Can I reorganize my team? Can I optimize resources? You decide what to do with the situation. The first step is to assume that you have control over what you do. And when I talk about control, I don't mean controlling everything that happens around you. Not everything is in your hands. But how you respond to what happens to you is in your hands. To what others do or don't do. It's very easy to get carried away by what others think or what society expects of you. But personal responsibility allows you to see things differently. It makes you the owner of your decisions. Let me put it more clearly. If you keep blaming others, keep waiting for someone else to solve your problems, you are giving yourself the power to change others instead of changing yourself. And therein lies the secret. True freedom lies in taking control of your life. When you understand that you are the one in charge, you become the architect of your own destiny. It's like having the master key to open doors that once seemed closed. Of course, taking personal responsibility isn't always easy. Sometimes circumstances are tough. Sometimes life isn't fair, and we all go through difficult times. But even in those circumstances, you have the power to decide how to face them. You can lament what you don't have, or you can work for what you can achieve. You are the one who decides not to give up. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for things to magically change. You become the driving force of your life. This doesn't mean that everything will always go well for you, but it does mean that you will learn to turn situations around. And every time you do it, every time you take control of your life, you become stronger. This also connects you with the idea that there are no excuses. If what you're doing isn't working, don't look for someone to blame. Look for what you can do to change it. It's not easy, of course it isn't, but personal responsibility is what gives you the strength to be the best version of yourself. It's not about what happens to you. It's about what you do with what happens to you. That's what really matters. I want to leave you with a powerful idea. If you don't take responsibility for your life, then you'll always be a spectator. Choose to be the protagonist. Make your life happen. Take action, make decisions, and build what you want. Don't let anything or anyone stop you. Personal responsibility is your superpower. To the youth, life is a blank canvas, and you are the painter. Many people will tell you what you should do, what you should be, what you should achieve. They will tell you about the right path, the expectation you have to meet, what is expected of you. But let me tell you something important. Life isn't written in a book. Write your own script. The world is full of voices telling you, this can't be done, this isn't for you, it's too difficult. But don't believe them. Why? Because true power lies in believing in yourself. Yourself. And the key is to take control of your life, without waiting for others to give you permission to dream or act. You are the master of your destiny. You will encounter obstacles. I know it won't all be a bed of roses, and you will fall many times. And when you fall, don't just stay there. Get up. Falls are part of what will make you stronger. Every time you fall and get up, you are gaining experience, learning more about yourself, and getting closer to who you truly want to be. Life isn't going to give you anything, and at some point, it will challenge you. But you know what? That's what makes you grow. Don't fear failure. True failure isn't falling. True failure is not getting up. Every mistake, every stumble, is just an opportunity to learn and do things better next time. Now, I want to give you some advice that's pure gold. Don't let yourself be influenced by what others expect of you. You have to be true to yourself. If you want to be a doctor, artist, engineer, writer, entrepreneur, or whatever, it doesn't matter if others' expectations are different. Do what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. Passion is the fuel that will keep your engine running when things get tough. Don't be afraid to start from scratch. Most of the people you admire today who have achieved great things started with doubts. They started without knowing if they would get anywhere. You can do it too. If you have a dream, don't stop until you achieve it. Hard work, discipline, and above all, the right attitude will make it possible. Always remember that time flies, and if you let fear or doubts hold you back, you could be missing out on valuable opportunities. Don't let life slip away because you're afraid to take risks. Youth is the perfect time to make mistakes, to try, to do everything you can. Seize this moment. The future begins now, and the only limit is you. Finally, I want you to know that the world needs more people like you. There is no one like you on this planet. You have a unique perspective. You have unlimited potential. Be brave, be bold, and above all, be yourself. There is nothing more powerful than someone who believes they can achieve the impossible, and you are